Welcome back to Tip of the Spear with your Missoula County Commissioners. I'm Juanita Vero, joined by my fellow Commissioner Josh Slotnick, and Commissioner Dave Strohmeyer can't be with us today. But summer is here, and we know that means the Western Montana Fair is just around the corner. And today we're joined by our two fellow employees, Jerry Marks and Billy Ayers, to talk about this hallmark event. Jerry, Billy, introduce yourselves and explain a bit about who you are and what you do. And actually, what's your correct title? Because folks would want to know that, too.
Isn't it Sir Jerry Marks?
Sir Jerry Marks.
Sir Jerry Marks.
I think it is.
I think Dave knighted him last time.
He did something like that. Yes, I'm Jerry Marks. I've been here since 1969 at the County Extension Office. And see, what was that? About 53, 54 fairs I've been into.
Wow.
So it has been a bunch of them. And actually, over my career, I have done all kinds of programs in working with the people. I have a strong belief in helping the people build programs. I'm kind of driven from the ground up, I guess.
I'm Billy Ayers. I'm the Events and Operations Manager for the Missoula County Fairgrounds, so I'm basically your county party planner.
So, Jerry, do you mind taking us back across some of those 50-odd fairs and talk a little bit about the history of the event? How's it changed? How did we get to where we are now?
Well, actually, I was going to take you back much farther than that.
That's all right. You can do that, sir.
This is maybe a couple thousand years, but fairs are really kind of a social intercourse, and they have evolved over time. I'm going to give credit to the early traders like Marco Polo, who traveling to other countries to exchange things. And that kind of set a stage for commodities that people could buy and sell. With Christianity coming, and then they got into the food. And so that become more social, more special days. That's where the term bazaars come from, is that kind of background that they had in those days. And there isn't really a clear history of how things evolved. So you kind of look through a lot of things, and certainly the church used the fairs as a place on their holy days to bring people together to do things, and the people also use it as a way to trade products, sell products, that type of thing. As it moved to Europe, the tone changed, and agriculture became a little more important in that process. In 1765, the first American fair was presented in Windsor, Nova Scotia. They still hold that fair to this day. Agriculture has become much more of a player in the fair concept as people wanted new ideas, new equipment, whatever. And part of this is driven by the unhappiness over slavery, other things that we did that thought we ought to find better ways of doing things. The fair was one way to communicate with people and bring that about. In this country, what I found, there was an Elkin and Watson organized what they call the Berkshire Agriculture Society. In 1811, he organized a cattle fair. They also had swine, horses, oxen was another one they had.
What year was this?
And that was in 1811.
Where?
Pittsfield, Massachusetts. That's where that first one was. And there was quite a movement across the country to organize these agricultural societies. Our early presidents had a lot of interest in more of an agrarian society, a better way of doing things. Fairs, I guess, is one way for the local people to express that or to do it. Certainly, this fellow Watson is considered the father of agriculture fairs, and he come up with the competition and premiums or prizes for the winners. And so it's something we carry on to this today. So I've kind of covered three things that I think is probably important. One, fairs in terms of people with commodities where they can buy and sell. A place where you can say try foods. And certainly it's evolved to many nonprofit groups, and maybe a few profit groups too, to try things at the fair. And then certainly for people that are raising animals, but also things that they put together, they're sewing, cooking, all that become part of the fair concept.
When was the first fair in Montana?
I don't know Montana, but I can say the first one in Missoula was 1879.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
The first Missoula County Fair was 1879.
Yes.
We weren't even, Missoula County wasn't
must
even
not
a
have
county
exactly.
then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're probably right. They actually had about 10 guys that kind of started pulling things together. And they had a site close to the current fairgrounds. It's a little further south and I believe west of the current fairgrounds that they actually then put together buildings, horse racing, and that type of thing.
Jerry, do you know when our current fairgrounds became our fairgrounds?
Yes. I'm going to cover that.
Oh,
Yes. Well, that was an effort that the 1879 was our first fair. And they didn't have any fairs in some of those years in 1883 and whatever. But that ground was owned by a bank, but they sold it to Thomas Greeno, and so he wanted the ground for other things. And one of the things that went in there was a sugar beet plant, which was built in 1928.
The site of the first fair.
Well,
Grounds was a
well,
sugar
I
beet
should,
plant.
I'm skipping some things here. They moved it from the south actually out to that site west of Missoula.
Oh, okay.
So there were 3 sites?
Yes, there were 3 sites. So they had to find a new fairground. So the current site then was under consideration. And I think one of the important things that happened to us in those days actually happened to all the counties. The Montana State Legislature approved that the counties could fund things like fairs. And that didn't exist before that. It was always done through donations, still donations to a certain degree, but there was some way to get some tax revenue.
And I'm sorry, what year was this again?
And
1883?
that was 1911. that
When the legislature
yes,
said-
1911. Said we
Yes.
could use tax money
Yes.
to make a fair happen.
Yes. So, and I'm going to say you had at least a couple of years of debate. Yes, we don't solve things very easy. That they finally approved the purchase of that existing ground where the fair is, the 46 acres, in I'm going to say 1913 for $16,000. And so that's what started where we are currently. And of course, I started the whole process to build a horse race track. A building for at that time was more for the ag exhibits, what we call the commercial building now. And a number of other buildings. They didn't have any fairs during World War I, and there was years during the Depression years that they didn't hold a fair.
Wow.
And I know that created some problems for 4-H because they still wanted to do their fall type activities. And I've come across literature where at least one of the years it was done down here at Karis Park and used the Elks building to set up their displays, which I thought was interesting.
Really, it took during the Depression a few years when the county said,
Yep.
we just don't have enough money to put
Yep.
on a fair.
Yep.
Wow.
The Kiwanis Club, their ag committee, played a big role in making that happen. There was something else that went on during the, I'm going to say war years, Depression years. I don't know exactly when it was built, but there was a lot of interest in developing a thing to process the foods. So they put up a building on our fairgrounds. And there was a lot of canning of local produce that went on there.
When was the fire?
1941 was fire on the grandstands. It destroyed, I think, 3 buildings. They still completed their fair that year, but they didn't have any fair from 1942 to 1954.
42 to 54. That's a long time.
Yes, it was a long time.
Well, do you know what brought it back?
I think the local people just says we got to have a fair. The interest in fair. And this goes back to the local grown produce concept.
Oh, it would be great to read those.
I was thinking the
those
minutes
old
would be really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's bring back the fair.
Yes, yes. And George Patterson was appointed the first manager of the fair. And then in 55, Katie Jordanay was appointed the manager, and she lasted a long time. And that's who I remember working out there at the fairgrounds is Katie. She was very good with people, and we actually did a lot of things. They've had the fair since that 1954, and they've had it every year since then.
So, Jerry, say when you started, 1969, 1970, in those early years, for you, what was the fair like compared to how it is now? What was it like?
Had very much interest in the exhibits. That was popular. The shows were always full of, and people brought in lots of livestock that we don't have today. We really don't have open glass livestock like we used to.
What's that mean?
Well, generally fairs are made up of the youth part, which is 4-H and FFA, and then the open glass is anybody else, and it was usually the producers. And we had more I guess I'll say competition, more interest. As you got into the 70s, the beef industry kind of switched to what I'd call the exotics, which is more the breeds that come out of Europe that they couldn't bring in because of hoof and mouth disease. And they got some of that corrected. So then we were seeing Simmental and Limousin and Soliers and and Charolais and Chianina, and so that added some.
And prior to that, it was just Herefords.
It was generally the three breeds was Angus, Herefords, and Shorthorn.
Oh, Shorthorn's a breed.
Yep.
I didn't realize.
I didn't know that either.
Yep. And there was quite a few Shorthorn. It was really popular.
Back then, was the Merc very involved in the fair?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
You mean in the 50s or?
Yeah, I was thinking the 50s, 60s. Did they play a commercial role? I mean, now we have corporate sponsors now.
And that's true. Another group that I should mention is the Missoula Trades and Labor Council, which is now our Chamber of Commerce. And they saw a real need for fairs to promote the local businessmen and their products. And so there's years that they actually played a supportive role in making it happen. And you had a lot of groups that would basically put the fair together. You certainly have the fair office and the fair board, but you have 4-H, but you also have lots of other groups that are doing things out there at the fairgrounds, and so that becomes important, as well as the livestock breeds, and all those folks have their own associations that they're part of. Funding the fair has always been a challenge, and trying to make things work. And in the 90s, the fair board, which was basically the main interest, was coming from the Chamber of Commerce, that we need to have a sports center.
A sports center?
A sports center.
What kind of sports?
They started out with ice, but they also wanted a bigger facility that we could have basketball tournaments and those kinds of things that they have trouble doing in Missoula.
Was this before the Adams Center was a thing?
No. And in fact, you make a good point there, because at least my exploration on trying to put those things together, there is not a good networking between the various interests on doing some of that stuff. I don't know how it is today, but that was a major thing. And I remember some meetings on that very issue of how can we do better and trying to promote those things. This is in the mid-90s, is they tore down a lot of the livestock stuff and put in the ice with the concept that the livestock could use the ice rink during the week of the fair. And they weren't thinking other kinds of shows or whatever that actually can go on that really are part of the fairgrounds. We used to have a lot of horse activities out at the fairgrounds, and that's been all kind of dissipated.
Juan, do you remember going to the fair as a little kid, like coming in from Greeno?
Yeah, but I was kind of, because I was so rural, I was scared of the crowds and I didn't participate in 4-H, but my mother did. That was a big part of her culture. And I guess my parents, the rodeo was something that was a big deal to compete in that rodeo. I was just kind of scared of the people. There's so many people, and it was just that kind of carnival atmosphere. But I was a pretty sheltered kid. So I have a different opinion of the fair as a kid. It wasn't and Billy's going to talk about this, it is not what it feels like now. Like, it was something that, the bathrooms are kind of gross, and everything was a little gross and a little run down.
Yes,
and it just didn't feel great. And now there is such
pretty shiny now.
New energy and like celebration that we feel now.
You mentioned the bathrooms. That was controversial every year, I swear.
Really?
Yeah, oh, yes. We didn't have the fair organized to where they kept things picked up better. It is totally different today. And I think the change that's kind of gone into the fair. Well, getting back to the 90s and the glacier ice big build, and initially they had the area that's closed now. There was some, I'm going to say, things that went pretty good. Well, then they wanted to cover that, make it enclosed, and put the livestock at a new rink that's open. And the floor on that was slick as all get out. So we went through quite a few gyrations. And some of the management of the glacier ice just really thought that the livestock should go someplace else, and the livestock people thought the glacier ice should go someplace else. So there was a number of meetings and discussion on that issue. One of the things that come out of that, the county commissioners fired the fair board.
Ooh, the whole board.
The whole board.
Wow, that must have been a thing.
It was.
Wow.
Yes, it made good news.
Which commission was that? Do you remember? We're talking mid-90s?
Well, it took several years. Let me tell you, you're talking closer to 2000.
Okay.
So I'm going to say probably Gene, Curtis, Bill Carey.
Okay. They fired the whole board.
They fired the board.
Yeah. It was before.
That was a bold move.
Yeah.
So then we went through, I've been actually trying to build more of an educational facility. And the commissioners, said, well, we'll put you out at the fairgrounds. And I, maybe somewhat naively, said, well, you better decide what you really want to do with the fairgrounds. And so we went through 5-6 years of, at times, heated debate over the use of the fairgrounds.
We're talking early 2000s now.
2010 to 2015.
I just love to see Jerry Marks heated.
I know. I wonder what that would be. It's a low.
Yeah.
It's a gentle simmer.
It's a gentle simmer. Because a lot of the groups that come out, the chamber really come out with wanting a sports center out there. There was a group that wanted horse racing. There was a group that wanted to turn it into farmers markets. There was a group that wanted it into family housing.
Wow.
A group that wanted more of an opera house. There were some meetings earlier about turning the fairgrounds into a central park. And so all that kind of go on. Very much Missoula, very much unwilling to come together. They wanted their issue. And so the commissioners finally reached a point and says, we bought that fairgrounds for a fair, and we have to have a fair. And so that's going to be our main choice. And so all those other entities lost out. I'll say it that way. And so we're actually kind of converted into very much what I would say is an educational, particularly moving us out there.
And when you say us, you mean the extension office?
The extension office. We'd worked with a number of things on natural history. And so when the Butterfly House was looking for a home, that was one of the things that had come up several times. And I said, well, we can work that in. And that becomes part of the educational effort of what we're doing, as well as the gardens. And so I see things evolving towards the educational thing.
Which has come full circle, which is the true meaning of the fair that you talked about thousands of years ago.
That's really great.
Yeah.
Full circle.
Yep, full circle. And the fair office will play a much, I'm going to say, a kind of a stronger role. They're kind of in the hub. It's kind of evolving that direction.
Great. Well, can we jump to the modern era?
Yeah.
Billy,
Sure.
bring us up to speed. What's going on at the fair right now?
This year, the fair is August 9th through the 13th. And we have named it in honor of the Rocky Mountain Gardens and Exploration Center.
Nice.
The theme is the butterfly effect, from small things, big things grow.
Beautiful.
Some of the physical changes that you're going to see this year, because we have been kind of fluid in the last couple of years with the renovations completed on the historic culinary building and the commercial building in 2019. The plaza was finished in 2021, and now with the new entry arch that has gone up and the new extension office, we should be able to see the exterior of the extension office during the fair. We have doubled the size of our activities for the fair now, with 2 zones of activities. We have the historic plaza, which you might have been familiar with the last 2 years, and now we have Fairway Plaza, which then allows us to extend all the new food vendors, which we have up to 30 food vendors all the way down to South Avenue. So with the fair being free admission, there is no reason why you're not eating 2 or 3 times a day at the fair. You can literally pull up on South Avenue, grab something, and go right back out. Then you can bring different people with you each time you eat. We'll have a lot of activities, seating, umbrellas, shading all down that corridor now between us and the extension office and down to South Avenue. We've got 2 bingo booths going this year because we have outgrown the one we had. It was just busting out the seams. So we're going to have extra tents with an outdoor bingo, and then we have an indoor bingo there in the Home Arts and Culinary building. We have an arcade going in that building as well.
Arcade.
Yes. And then, of course, the carnival has already started showing up. They started bringing in pieces last night, and so we're getting ready to stage those things. So 11 o'clock each day, we start the day with carnival rides and food, and then, of course, the shows. We have free live music starting from 5 and then picking up again at 9, and every night in the arena, we have our events. We start out with the Extreme Bull Riding on Wednesday. Then we have PRCA Rodeo for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then on 6 o'clock on Sunday, we have Lords of Dirt coming back.
Whoa, the big crowd pleaser.
Yeah. So the full schedule is really detailed, and it's all online at MissoulaFair.com.
Nice.
And you can also find on there maps for parking. One of the things that we're seeing as a trend is that people are making plans to come in groups and carpool. And so our parking numbers are actually down. We haven't had a full parking lot yet as of last year, yet we're having record-setting numbers that are higher than we've ever seen. So we are partnered with the Sentinel High School and the band members there to help us share some of their parking over at the Sentinel High School. And the bus system has seen like a 400% increase in their ridership during the fair. And of course, we have Uber drop-off and things like that we are practicing more. So, people are really enjoying the fair. They really enjoy that there isn't a beer garden anymore. They just can walk around with the cocktail as wherever they want to go. We just don't have them in the carnival lot or the livestock barns or the parking lots. And so people really do enjoy that come and go, easy attitude. And you can bring your own picnic lunch to the fairgrounds, just be people watching. The only thing we ask is you don't bring your own alcoholic drinks, but it's a pretty good time. You're going to run into a lot of people that you haven't seen for a long time. And it's a great place where people who are often in different information silos, they just remember they can reconnect. And that's kind of what fairgrounds are so important for today, is that they are a place where community still happens. And people just break out of their schedules and they make time for each other.
Wow. Missoula County Fairgrounds, where community happens. That's great. Thanks, Billy.
What are some of your favorite events? Yeah, both of you. From years in the past or right now? Yeah.
I'm going to pick up a little bit because the Missoula Fair does serve as a way for people from all valleys to come together.
It's Western Montana.
Yes.
The Western Montana Fair.
I see people there. It's just good visiting. So that's been a plus. My main interest historically has been exhibits. It has been where we've had educational programs. The rodeo's always goer, and they have had very good entertainment throughout. It has certainly changed. I was surprised that people thought that horse racing was the best answer, and a lot of people from downtown participated in that, had a beer and lunch to watch the horses, which I didn't fully realize.
Jay, was there wagering?
Oh, yes.
Yes, I imagine so.
Yes. And that's one of the reasons why
it was popular.
It was popular, but there's some state statutes on the county getting involved in gambling. And we also had some issue with liability. We couldn't find, should I say, a common way to keep that alive. And it takes up so much of the fairgrounds. And they didn't want to move, and so that was one of the controversies. Most counties had a racetrack.
What's it like now?
One. Great Falls is the only one I know of that's doing it.
Miles City has, just during the bucking horse sale, but not part of the fair.
Okay.
That's a pretty famous thing, that bucking horse sale.
Yep. And I know in Great Falls, the county made a deal with the local people. They would provide $30,000, and they would have then to pick up all the prizes and all the other expenses that go on with the horse racing. And I don't know if that's still the way they're operating, but that's how they made that one work.
What are some of your favorite events?
Well, I've been with fairs for a long time. First I was 4-H and FFA, and then I went to college judging livestock in Kansas, and then I joined a fair board down there and thought I was going to be too young to be on the fair board, and came home and found out I was president. So
that's how board activity usually works.
I've just been a member of like saddle clubs and things, and trail riding, backcountry horsemen, all that stuff for years and years. And so my favorite thing when I've done all those travels, going to all those stock shows through college and things about Missoula, is how we do not bring in anything really out of town. We are not on a routing system like other fairs, bringing in mimes or clowns. We spend our off-season literally combing through Missoula and finding the nooks and crannies and bringing it to the fairgrounds and celebrating it. And that's how we've been able to double our activities. And that they resonate with the people of Missoula because they're authentic. They're not, as you were saying when you were a child, Juanita, that, it just felt a little creepy and on edge. So we spend a lot of time to make sure that it feels very community and organized. And then that sheds light on those little communities or those new pop-up, like dance studios or things like that, where they can showcase their talent, other people can learn about it, and we can get kids, or as Jerry says, more educational opportunities. So that's kind of what I love the best about Missoula's fair. Over any other fair that I've been to or stock show, I think Missoula is one of the best communities at doing that.
What about you, Josh? What's your favorite?
We had the rodeo. Just going to watch those events is really fun.
Yeah, it was rodeo, and past number of years, Lords of Dirt is now my favorite. They're fantastic.
And he's just decided to put the Scurfs in the middle of the show. So they're a local Missoula draw. We're going to bring them in the middle of the performance before Keith Sayers stunts.
The Scurfs.
Yes, for the kids in the know, they'll be excited.
Can you give a little teaser to listeners?
I've seen photos of them. I've heard about them for months. But then Ryan Montgomery, who organizes Lords of Dirt, came in and told me that he was bringing the Scurfs in. I said, well, you just made this whole office really happy because they've been trying to book the Scurfs for quite some time.
Talk to us about volunteers. What are you needing? How can folks get involved?
Well, like Jerry said, the fair has been a source of revenue for service clubs, churches, other organizations, bands, to make their entire year's budget using the fair for selling or actually working in service to the fairgrounds as ticket takers, parking attendants, and things like that, security, information help. So we have really grown those service club partnerships, and we only have one role that we need the community's help in volunteering, and that is being a member of our green team. We have created lighted trash bins with recycling and compost. We've analyze the situation. It's dark. You can't, someone flips open the lid. You can't tell what container it actually was. When we empty the container and we take it to the back, does anybody remember which container was that? So we've looked at all those things. So we've added light, we've added better signage. And if we could just have this human element come forward, that'd be great. And we're willing to pay really well. If you give us 3 hours helping us on our green team, you'll get carnival passes. You can get passes to the rodeo or Lords of Dirt, or you could get fair food bucks. And so, as you know,
that, kids?
Yes. Yes.
So how do people sign up?
They can just sign up on the website. There's so many shifts, and we do have
MissoulaFair.com.
MissoulaFair.com. Be a volunteer, and you can pick your time, and you can rally your friends and make sure you're all working the same shift. So all you have to do is get off shift and get on the rides.
Thanks a ton, Billy.
Yeah.
And thank you, Jerry.
Last question.
Last question for each of you. Have you guys run across something in your perusing of culture lately? That's podcasts, books, movies, anything out there in the world where you feel like there's some little nugget of wisdom you'd like to impart or pass on?
You're asking me during fair season.
Could be a song you heard this morning that was just like, this got me through today.
A quote that gets you through the day?
Well, I guess
what's your
rehearse
mantra?
success.
Oh,
rehearse success. So
rehearse success.
yes, and often I do it in the shower, which is not entirely friendly to the environment. So I'm always thinking about, is this in place? How does this day of the fair run? Just rehearse success.
That's a good one. Thanks.
You mentioned music, so I'll suggest a couple. One is Aaron Copeland.
All right.
And he's done I think he pronounces it different, rodeo, but and he has a hoedown as part of that thing that I really think sounds good. He also has another song that's fanfare to the common man, and I guess for me it's fanfare to the people.
Ah.
And so it's actually very good. So
Those are great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you both so much, and we'll see you all at the fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
See you soon.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks.
See you then.
Thanks for listening to the Tip of the Spear podcast. If you enjoy these conversations, it would mean a lot if you would rate and review the show on whichever podcast app you like. And if you know a friend who would like to keep up with what's happening in local government, be sure to recommend this podcast to them. The Tip of the Spear podcast is made possible with support from MCAT, better known as Missoula Community Access Television, and our staff in the Missoula County Communications Division. If you have a question or topic you'd like us to address on a future episode, email it to communications@missoulacounty.us. And to find other ways to stay up to date with what's happening at Missoula County, go to missoula.co/county updates. And thanks for listening.